Welcome back, America, to this Just the News, Real America's Voice special report brought to you by AMAC, Restoring Law and Order. I'm still joined by AMAC Senior Vice President Charles Stucken. He's my co-host for the evening. Our next guest is a man on the front lines of the restoration of law and order. He's been Virginia's very successful Attorney General, Jason Miyares. He's leading fights against crime and, of course, all of the other legal issues he's won against the Biden administration over the last few years. He joins us now. Sir, good to have you back on the show.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me again.
All right. I think everywhere I go in the country now, I think people are beginning to realize it feels like America's getting normal again, that we're actually following the law. We're enforcing law and order. We're not overreaching. How is that playing out in Virginia in the shadows of the Washington, D.C. takeover?
I mean, I will tell you what I saw in Virginia when we took office. Our murder rate in Virginia was at a 20-year high. Our violent crime rate was at a 30-year high. Our addiction death rate was the highest we'd ever seen. And what we saw in particular in Virginia, even though we had an explosion in the murder rate because of really bad policies by our Democratic predecessor, Ralph Northam, we saw that a lot of the violence was really being focused in about a dozen localities. And so what we further seen, if you look at data, as a general rule, 5% of felons are committing over 50% of the violent felonies. If you want to lower violent crime, you have to go after that small subset of repeat violent offenders. That makes common sense. Believe it or not, for the left, they think that's controversial. So we launched something called Operation Ceasefire out of our office with the Governor Youngkin's support. We went aggressively after these repeat violent offenders. We investigated them, we indicted them, we prosecuted them. And a lot of these localities, we took assistant attorney generals out of my office and we actually took them to federal court. Because in some of these localities, you do have local prosecutors that view themselves as social workers instead of prosecutors. And so what we have seen is a remarkable turnaround in Virginia, a 1/3 drop in our murder rate, double-digit drop in our violent crime rate. Our ceasefire cities alone, just those 13 localities, 66% of the drop is attributed to those 13 areas. So we've seen a remarkable turnaround. What happens when you stand with law enforcement instead of against law enforcement? You give them the tools they need, and also you go after those repeat violent offenders that are also spreading fentanyl. So much of the violence that happens are drug dealer A getting in a turf battle with drug dealer B. It's a fight over a narcotics trade. So I know our office alone, in the Attorney General's office, we have prosecuted and gotten enough fentanyl off the streets of Virginia that would have killed close to 7 million Virginians. So we're proud of the work we've done, making Virginia safer and more prosperous, because what I say is one of your core functions in government is to make sure that your citizens are not looking over their shoulder in fear. And that's one thing I heard when I took this office from so many citizens in so many localities, where they said, we used to feel safe going out at night, walking the streets. We don't feel safe. And now I did not feel that was acceptable. And that's why we launched such an intensive, focused effort in cleaning up our streets and getting these repeat violent offenders out of our communities.
Amazing.
Yeah, those numbers are frankly, are outstanding. But let's talk about neighborhood impact for a moment. So what specific Virginia to DC cooperation do you want, or would you want? Warrants honored, intel on crews crossing state lines, joint metro units. What would be the best case scenario of cooperation when it comes to your neighbor in DC?
Well, listen, I would tell you that this Justice Department, Attorney General Bondi on public safety is night and day difference between what we saw with Merrick Garland. The only time we really heard from Merrick Garland is when he was notifying Virginia that they were suing Virginia to stop us from removing non-citizens off our voter rolls, and we obviously had to take that to the Supreme Court. But let me tell you, let me give you an example of what happens when you have a public safety focus at DOJ. We reached out, myself and Governor Youngkin notified the Trump administration that we wanted an interagency task force to go after these transnational gangs in the DC metro area, many of them also in Northern Virginia. This is TDA, this is MS-13. We know the Sinaloa cartels and all this good new generation of also getting a foothold as well. We wanted resources. We wanted to bring in local, state, and federal partners, because one of the challenges you have in law enforcement is information gets siloed, right? And you want to make sure the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. I could tell you this, we made this request shortly after the inauguration. Within a month, it was approved, and shortly thereafter, we had a interagency task force working out of the FBI field office in Manassas, Virginia. And when shortly after that, we were able to nail one of the top MS-13 leaders on the entire East Coast who was in Northern Virginia. When you're able to partner with federal and state, you go to this room, it's a gigantic room. You have state police, BCI, which is the Virginia equivalent of the FBI, Bureau of Criminal Investigations, FBI, Homeland Security. You put these, and then local Loudoun and local sheriffs as well. It is amazing what you can do, breaking up, going after MS-13, getting them off of our streets because they victimize so many people. And so what I have seen is this interagency task force. And don't forget, the former Secretary of Public Safety, who I worked with very closely here in Virginia, Terry Cole, was named by the Trump administration to be the head of the DEA and now is overseeing the DC police force. It is Terry Cole. Terry Cole is a pros pro. He ran DEA operations in Mexico. We were able to recruit him to come to Virginia as our Secretary of Public Safety. He is a consummate professional. He's a cop's in that sense. I'm not surprised that you're seeing these results in DC under Terry's leadership. And so I know that we look forward already working with him in this capacity with DEA. When you have that cooperation, boy, you can get so much done going after these transnational gangs that are victimizing so many people.
And based on your experience, what are the first 3 metrics, let's say, you judge DC on the next 90 days? Murders, carjackings, pre-trial detention, retail theft, prosecution rate. Like, what are those top 3 to say, hey, we're having incredible success here?
They're short-term and long-term. Short-term, obviously, murder, rape, robbery / carjackings, right? That's by far, those are, and I love to tell my team, if you can measure it, you can improve it, right? So we've already seen a dramatic drop on that, but reforming their misguided policies. Think about this. The former DC police commissioner admitted that the average arrest record of someone picked up on a murder charge in Washington, DC was 11 prior arrests. 11. These were individuals that crossed the line and took someone's life and were already in the criminal justice system overwhelmingly. Part of their problem is they pass a series of incredibly misguided, quote unquote, social justice reform. Really, it was a criminal first, victim last mindset, some of which allowed judges to treat adults as old as 25 years of age as juveniles, which meant essentially became a catch and release program. You had this revolving door as well. So they have got to repeal some of these so-called reforms that have been done so much damage. If Washington, D.C. was a state prior to them taking over, if Washington, D.C. was a state, it would be the most violent criminal rate of any state in the country. And what I tell my friends, my conservative friends that are like, oh, it's it's left-wing governance, look at that. I said, that's not a good thing. It's not good for our nation's capital, in which so many people around the world, their impression of America is what they see in our nation's cities when they go to visit. It's not good for DC or LA or New York to have such a crime problem. And it's further not good when I know personally citizens that are too afraid to go see their nation's capital because of the crime rate. Our nation's capital should be where we show off the best of America. People can go see the Declaration of Independence. Next year's America's birthday with the 250th celebration. We should make sure Washington, D.C. is free, that nobody's looking over their shoulder in fear. They're able to see those great founding documents that are the underpinnings of our entire democracy. And yes, go see their congressman or senator if they so be so. Go tour the White House. So we want D.C. to be safe for not just Virginians, but for everyday Americans. This is what I could tell you. The number of Virginians I know that prior to this takeover were commuting into D.C., and whereas before they would stay, they would go to dinner, they would go to the Kennedy Center, but now as soon as their workday over, they skip over and get across the Potomac to Virginia. Why? Because of the crime. It was having a negative economic impact as well on our nation's capital city. And so we want D.C. to be a safe city that every American feels comfortable visiting.
So important. Sir, before we let you go, another part of this is restoring trust in the federal agencies that let us down with weaponization or giving a pass repeatedly to Democrats who were engaged in crime. You did a lot of work on Act Blue, got that to the Justice Department and to Congress. Well, how important is it for people to restore their trust in the FBI and the Justice Department, and what's the best way to get there?
Well, listen, that's what I would say is that Director Kash Patel said he wanted the FBI to be depoliticized and go back to what they were designed to do, catch bad guys. I love that mindset. I got to be with Kash Patel and General Bondi on one of our interagency task force meetings. That's their mindset. Their mindset is people say, oh, they're not politicizing it. They want to depoliticize it. They want to get back to what it was designed to do, is go after, and this is where the federal government can be so helpful in crime fighting. They can go after these transnational gangs, these gangs that operate over state lines. They can do an enormous amount of resources. So whether it's FBI, DEA, Homeland Security, which HSI is our principal federal agency we work with on human trafficking, that's the world's second largest criminal enterprise. Let me tell you something. What happened at the border under Joe Biden was criminal. They allowed 8.2 million illegal crossings. That's a conservative estimate. While he's president, that's larger than the population of 42 U.S. states. Think about that. It was the largest levels of human migration in 249 years of us being a country. And the people that politicize it was the Biden federal government that was essentially looking the other way. We had lawlessness on our southern border and was refusing to enforce the law. And so getting back to what they do, the DEA and the FBI and HSI going after these bad actors, going after the transnational gangs, that's going to be critical. That's what we want to see done. I know that's what the line troops, that's what they want to do as well.
Exactly what you did when you came in to be Virginia's chief law enforcement officer. That's why it's worked and why people feel so much safer in Virginia. Attorney General Jason Meyers, what a great honor to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you on the trail ahead. God bless you.
That's good. What a great interview, folks, and what a great example of how you get the job done. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Congressman Pat Harrigan is going to join us to talk more about the cleaning up D.C.'s crime crisis, as well as the push for accountability in Russiagate and weaponization. We're going to have all of that right after that. But before we do that, during the break, head to amac.us/justnews because you can get 33% off a 5-year membership. That's what I'm a 5-year member. That's a little more than just that $1 a month. What a great deal. You get all the benefits of AMAC. Go check it out during the break, amac.us/justnews. We'll be right back.